Hey folks, welcome back to Stoic Quotes 365. Let's be real for a second. Have you ever had someone close to you just drift away? You're left staring at your phone, waiting for a text that doesn't come, replaying every interaction in your head, asking yourself, what happened? Maybe it's a partner, a friend, or even a family member. One day, they're there, and the next, it's like they've vanished into thin air. If you're nodding right now, trust me, you're not alone. That sinking feeling when someone distances themselves can hit hard. It stirs up self-doubt, anxiety, and even a sense of loss. Your mind starts racing, trying to figure out how to fix things. You think, should I call them? Should I send another message? Maybe I need to explain myself one more time. But before you do anything, pause. Here's the truth, folks. Reacting in desperation rarely works. In fact, it can often make things worse. And that's why you're here today. Because there's a better way. A way that puts you back in control, helps you stay grounded, and lets you approach this situation with strength and clarity. And yes, it's inspired by the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. Today, we're going to talk about what to do when someone distances themselves or ignores you. I'm not just talking about random advice here. We're diving into 8 powerful principles that will help you handle this situation with grace, confidence, and a clear mind. Whether they come back into your life or not, you'll walk away stronger, more focused, and in control of your own peace. But before we dive into the steps, let's get real for a second. Why does their distance hurt so much? It's not just about them pulling away. It's about what it triggers inside of you. That feeling of rejection or being overlooked can make you question your self-worth. You might start thinking, maybe I'm not enough. Maybe I did something to push them away. But let me tell you something, folks. Your worth isn't defined by someone else's attention or approval. Read that again. This is about them, not you. And today, we're flipping the script. Instead of chasing after them or spiraling into self-doubt, you're going to learn how to approach this with a mindset that not only protects your peace, but also helps you grow. Now, I know what you're thinking, but what if I lose them forever? That fear is natural. It's okay to feel that. But the truth is, you can't force someone to stay in your life. What you can do, however, is show up for yourself in a way that makes them either regret pulling away or make you so strong that their absence doesn't even shake you. So here's what we're going to cover today. And trust me, each of these principles will not only help you navigate their distance, but also guide you toward becoming the best version of yourself. Let me ask you this. What if, instead of chasing after them, you took a step back? What if you gave them the space they're clearly asking for and used that time to focus on you? I know it sounds counterintuitive, but stepping back isn't giving up. It's a power move. It's about showing that you respect yourself enough to not beg for someone's attention. This is where Stoicism comes in, folks. Stoicism isn't just some ancient philosophy. It's a blueprint for handling tough situations like this with calm, confidence, and class. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's the energy we're channeling today. Think about it. When you stop reacting, when you stay calm and focused, you stop giving them the power to dictate your emotions. You become the one in control, and that shift, it's magnetic. It makes people sit up and notice. But this isn't just about getting their attention back. This is about building a stronger, more grounded version of yourself. Someone who doesn't crumble just because someone else decides to step away. Someone who can look in the mirror and say, "I am enough," and mean it. And you are enough, folks. Whether they realize it or not, whether they come back or not, you are enough. And today, you're going to learn how to show that, not just to them, but to yourself. Before we dive into the good stuff, though, I have a small favor to ask. If this is already speaking to you, if you're ready to stop chasing and start thriving, hit that subscribe button right now. Don't just listen. Join the Stoic Relationships community, where we're all about turning tough moments into stepping stones. And while you're at it, tap that like button too. It's such a simple way to show your support, and it helps us reach more amazing people like you. All right, let's do this, folks. Take a deep breath, and let's figure out how to turn this challenge into one of your biggest strengths. Number 1. Master the art of staying composed. Let's start with a truth that's hard to accept, folks. When someone distances themselves from you, the worst thing you can do is react emotionally. I know how tempting it is to chase after them, to demand answers, or to try and fix the situation. But here's the thing, those reactions rarely work. In fact, they often backfire. Staying composed isn't just a suggestion, it's your foundation for handling this in a way that protects your dignity and your peace. When someone pulls away, it's natural to feel hurt, confused, and even rejected. These emotions are valid, but letting them dictate your actions puts you in a vulnerable position. Reacting impulsively, whether it's firing off a desperate text or overthinking every interaction, hands over your power. And that's not what we're here to do, right? This is about you reclaiming control, not losing it. Think about it. When you react emotionally, you're saying, "Your actions control my feelings." But when you stay calm, you're sending a very different message. I value myself enough to not lose control. That shift in energy is powerful, folks, and it sets the stage for everything that comes next. So how do you actually stay composed when your emotions are screaming at you to act? It starts with recognizing what's within your control and what's not. Marcus Aurelius, a master of Stoic philosophy, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Their actions, outside your control, your response, completely up to you. Here's how you can master this art in practice. First, take a breath. It sounds simple, but it's one of the most effective ways to ground yourself. When you're overwhelmed, your body shifts into fight or flight mode, and your thoughts can spiral out of control. Stop for a moment and take a few slow, deep breaths. Inhale for 4 counts, hold it for 4 counts, and exhale for 4 counts. This calms your nervous system and gives you a chance to reset. Next, step back. If you're glued to your phone, checking for their response or replaying conversations in your head, it's time to break that cycle. Put the phone down. Distract yourself with something productive or enjoyable. Go for a walk, hit the gym, or dive into a hobby. This isn't about ignoring the problem. It's about creating space to think clearly without the weight of impulsive emotions clouding your judgment. And here's a big one. Remind yourself of your worth. Their distance doesn't define your value, folks. Say that out loud if you need to. My worth is not tied to their actions. Write it down, repeat it, let it sink in. The moment you believe this, you'll find it's so much easier to stay composed because you're no longer seeking their validation to feel whole. Silence is another powerful tool in staying composed. When you don't react emotionally, you disrupt the dynamic. They'll notice your calmness, and trust me, folks, they'll start wondering, why aren't they chasing me? What's changed? That silence is louder than any emotional outburst. It communicates confidence, strength, and self-respect, and people are drawn to that energy. Now, let's talk about what staying composed isn't. It's not about suppressing your emotions or pretending you don't care. It's about managing your response in a way that aligns with your values and protects your peace. You can feel hurt or confused and still choose to respond thoughtfully instead of impulsively. That's real strength. Here's an example to think about. Imagine you've sent someone a message and they're taking hours, maybe even days, to respond. Your gut reaction might be to send another text or call them just to make sure they saw it. But what does that really accomplish? It puts you in a position of chasing, of seeking their validation. Instead, pause. Take a breath. Remind yourself that their response, or lack of one, doesn't define your worth. By staying composed, you maintain your dignity and create an air of mystery that's far more compelling than desperation. Let me ask you something. Folks, how does staying composed make you feel? It's empowering, isn't it? It reminds you that you're not at the mercy of someone else's actions. You're in control of how you respond, and that's where your real power lies. Now it's your turn to take action. The next time you feel that urge to react impulsively, whether it's sending a text, calling, or overanalyzing the situation, pause, take a breath. Write down this affirmation. I choose calm over chaos. My peace comes first. Then, share it in the comments below. Seriously. Folks, let's make this a movement. Let's remind ourselves, and each other, that we have the strength to stay composed. No matter what's happening around us, this is just the beginning. Folks, mastering the art of staying composed is the first step in reclaiming your power and handling this situation with grace. Stick around, because the next step will show you how to navigate this space with confidence. Let's keep going together. Number 2. Give them the space they need. When someone distances themselves from you, your first instinct might be to close the gap. You want to reach out, ask what's wrong, or try to pull them back into your life. But when someone starts creating distance, the most effective response is often the hardest one. Stepping back and giving them the space they need. It's not easy. Giving space can feel like letting go, and you might worry, what if they forget about me? But space isn't about pushing them away. It's about creating an environment where both of you can find clarity. Think of it this way. Have you ever felt overwhelmed when someone demanded your attention while you were trying to process your own thoughts? It's frustrating and suffocating, isn't it? Giving space is the opposite. It's a sign of respect for their boundaries and their process. This doesn't mean ignoring them completely or shutting them out. It's about balancing distance and connection. Imagine you're holding sand in your hand. If you squeeze it too tightly, it slips through your fingers. But if you hold it gently, it stays. Relationships work the same way. When you allow someone room to breathe, you're giving them the chance to reflect without the pressure of constant interaction. Giving space can feel uncomfortable, especially when you care deeply about the person. But it's one of the most powerful things you can do. It shows you're secure enough to let them figure things out on their own, instead of trying to control the outcome. That self-assurance is magnetic. It draws people toward you rather than pushing them away. So how do you give someone space while still maintaining a connection? The key is intentionality. Resist the urge to over-communicate. You don't need to send multiple messages or follow up if they haven't responded. Let them reach out in their own time. When you do communicate, keep it simple and thoughtful. A message like, "Hope you're doing well," can show you care without overwhelming them. While you're stepping back, focus on your own life. Reinvest in hobbies. Spend time with people who uplift you, or explore something new that excites you. By focusing on yourself, you're not just distracting your mind, you're reminding yourself of your own worth outside of this relationship. When they see you thriving, it sends a powerful message. You respect their space, but you're not dependent on their attention. When you give someone space, two things often happen. First, they feel relieved. Your respect for their boundaries allows them to process their emotions without added pressure. Second, they start to notice the absence of your presence. And that absence? It's often more impactful than anything you could say or do. People don't realize what they have until they're given the chance to miss it. This is where your own growth becomes essential. Use this time to ask yourself, am I respecting their space? Or am I still trying to control the situation? Reframe your perspective. This isn't about losing them. It's about giving both of you the opportunity to reflect and reconnect when the time is right. If you're feeling uncertain about how to proceed, try writing down this reminder. I respect their space, and I value my own peace. Let that be your anchor when the urge to reach out feels overwhelming. And remember, stepping back doesn't mean giving up. It's about showing that you're secure enough to let things unfold naturally. Now it's your turn. Share in the comments below. What's the hardest part about giving someone space for you? Let's talk about it and support each other through this process. And don't go anywhere. The next step will help you dive deeper into understanding what this distance really means. Stick around, folks. We're just getting started. Number 3, reflect on the bigger picture. When someone distances themselves from you, it's easy to get caught up in the small details. You find yourself replaying every conversation, analyzing every word, trying to figure out where things went wrong. But here's the thing. Focusing on the little moments can blind you to the bigger picture. Reflection isn't about dissecting every action. It's about stepping back and seeing the situation as a whole. Reflection starts with a simple but powerful question. What is really going on here? Sometimes, their distance has nothing to do with you. They might be dealing with stress, personal struggles, or changes in their life that make them less available. Other times, it could be a sign of something deeper in the relationship. Maybe unmet needs, miscommunications, or unspoken feelings. Instead of assuming the worst or jumping to conclusions, take a moment to consider what might be driving their behavior. But reflection isn't just about them. It's also about you. Ask yourself, how am I contributing to this situation? This isn't about blaming yourself, but about taking an honest look at your actions and patterns. Have you been overly dependent on their attention? Have you overlooked signs that they needed space? Self-awareness is a powerful tool. It helps you grow and adapt in ways that strengthen your relationships and your sense of self. One way to approach this reflection is by journaling. Write down your thoughts and feelings without judgment. Start with prompts like, what emotions am I feeling right now? Why does their distance affect me so deeply? What do I want from this relationship? Putting your thoughts on paper can help you untangle the confusion and see things more clearly. Another effective tool is perspective taking. Imagine you're an outsider looking at your situation. What advice would you give someone else in your position? Often, stepping outside of your own emotions can reveal insights you might miss when you're too close to the problem. It also reminds you that this moment, no matter how intense it feels, is just a part of a larger story. While reflecting, it's important to manage your assumptions. It's tempting to fill in the gaps of their behavior with worst-case scenarios. Maybe you think, they don't care about me anymore, or they're pulling away because they've found someone else. But assumptions are just stories we tell ourselves, and they're often wrong. Instead of creating narratives based on fear, focus on the facts. What do you know for sure? What's unclear? What can you address through calm, open communication when the time is right? Reflection isn't about finding immediate answers. It's about creating space for understanding. And sometimes, that understanding reveals truths that are hard to face. Maybe their distance is a sign that the relationship needs to change, or even end. But here's the thing, folks, clarity, no matter how uncomfortable, is always better than confusion. When you reflect honestly, you equip yourself with the tools to move forward. whether that means repairing the relationship or letting it go. As you reflect, try to anchor yourself in Stoic principles. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Reflection is about reclaiming that power. It's not about controlling their actions or feelings. It's about understanding your own and responding with wisdom. So what's the next step after reflection? It's about turning those insights into action. Maybe you realize you need to communicate more clearly, or maybe you recognize patterns that need to change. Whatever the case, reflection isn't the end. It's the beginning of a more thoughtful, intentional approach. Take a moment to comment, "I gain clarity." These 3 words affirm your commitment to reflection and growth. Stick around, folks. In the next step, we'll talk about focusing on self-improvement, a game changer that shifts the entire dynamic. Let's keep going. Number 4, focus on your own growth. All right, folks, let's talk about something that often gets overlooked when someone distances themselves from you. Focusing on your own growth. It's easy to put all your energy into analyzing their behavior, wondering what went wrong, or hoping they'll come back. But let me ask you this, how much better would you feel if, instead of waiting on them, you chose to invest that energy into yourself? When someone pulls away, it can feel like a void has been left behind. The instinct is to fill that void with questions, actions, or even distractions. But here's the truth. The best thing you can do is turn that space into an opportunity. This isn't about ignoring the pain or pretending it doesn't matter. It's about shifting the focus from what you can't control, their actions, to what you can control, your own growth. Think of this moment as a mirror. Their distance gives you the chance to reflect on what you've been neglecting in your own life. Are there passions or goals you've been putting off? Have you lost touch with parts of yourself while pouring energy into this relationship? Now is the time to reconnect with those parts of you. Start with something simple. Think about a skill you've always wanted to learn, or a hobby that brings you joy. Maybe it's painting, writing, working out, or even trying a new recipe. The act of creating, learning, or simply doing something for yourself is incredibly powerful. It reminds you that your life is bigger than any single relationship. Another way to focus on growth is by prioritizing your mental and physical well-being. Let's be honest, folks. How many times have you let stress or uncertainty take a toll on your health? Use this time to double down on self-care. Take that yoga class. Go for daily walks, or even just spend a few extra minutes each day practicing gratitude. Small changes can make a big difference, not just in how you feel, but in how you show up in the world. Focusing on growth doesn't mean you're forgetting about the person who's distanced themselves. It means you're showing them, and yourself, that your value doesn't depend on their presence. And here's the thing, folks. When you invest in yourself, people notice. Confidence, self-assurance, and a sense of purpose are magnetic. Whether they come back or not, you'll be in a stronger place because of the effort you've put into yourself. This is also the time to reconnect with the people who uplift you. Sometimes, when we're focused on one person, we unintentionally pull away from other relationships. Reach out to a friend you haven't spoken to in a while. Spend quality time with family. These connections remind you that your life is full of people who care about you, and that your worth isn't tied to one individual's attention. Let me ask you this. What's one thing you've been meaning to do for yourself, but haven't gotten around to? Take this as your sign to start. Maybe it's signing up for that course, dusting off your guitar, or finally taking that solo trip you've been dreaming of. Whatever it is, make a commitment to yourself today. Here's a simple affirmation to anchor yourself. I invest in me. Write it in the comments below to affirm your growth and remind yourself of your power. Stick around, folks. Next, we'll explore how to communicate effectively without coming across as desperate. This step is crucial, and you won't want to miss it. Let's keep going together. Number 5. Communicate with confidence, not desperation. When someone distances themselves, it's tempting to reach out in a way that screams urgency. You want answers. You want to fix things. But here's the truth. Folks, desperation in communication can push people even further away. What works instead? Confidence. It's about choosing your words and timing carefully, so your message shows strength, not neediness. Let's start with what not to do. Have you ever sent a flurry of messages like, "Are you mad at me?" Or "Why are you ignoring me?" These kinds of texts come from a place of fear and insecurity, and they often put the other person on the defensive. It creates pressure, and no one likes feeling cornered. Instead, focus on sending messages that are calm, clear, and intentional. So how do you communicate confidently? First, think about what you actually want to say. Are you trying to understand their feelings, share yours, or simply check in? Whatever it is, keep your message short and to the point. For example, instead of writing a paragraph filled with emotions, try something like, "I've noticed we haven't been talking as much lately. Is everything okay on your end?" This kind of message is neutral, respectful, and leaves room for them to respond without feeling overwhelmed. Another important thing, folks, is timing. When you feel the urge to send a message, pause. Ask yourself, am I reaching out because I'm genuinely ready to have this conversation, or am I acting out of panic? Waiting until you're calm can make a huge difference in how your words come across. It's also worth considering their perspective. If they've been pulling away, they might feel confused, stressed, or unsure about their own emotions. By approaching them with confidence rather than desperation, you create a space for open, honest dialogue. And remember, confidence isn't about demanding answers. It's about showing that you value yourself enough to communicate in a healthy way. Here's something to keep in mind. You don't need a reply to feel validated. Sometimes, people won't respond the way you hope, and that's okay. Your worth doesn't depend on their reaction. Confidence means knowing that you said what you needed to say and letting go of the outcome. It's about maintaining your dignity no matter what happens next. Now, let's talk about one more thing: tone. The way you say something can be just as important as what you say. Keep your tone respectful and calm. Avoid blaming or accusing language like, "You always ignore me." Instead, focus on how you feel. "I've been feeling a bit disconnected lately, and I'd like to understand what's going on." Guys, this shifts the conversation from confrontation to connection. Take a moment to reflect. What's one thing you want to say to someone who's pulled away? Write it down. But before you send it, ask yourself, does this message reflect confidence or desperation? This small pause can transform the way you communicate. And before we wrap up, folks, if you're finding value in this conversation, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. By joining our community, you'll get more insights like this to strengthen your relationships and your mindset. Also, leave a comment below with these 3 words. I am confident. Let's claim that strength together. Stick around. Next, we'll talk about managing expectations and why it's one of the most powerful ways to protect your peace. You don't want to miss it. Let's keep going. Number 6, manage your expectations. All right, folks, let's get real for a moment. When someone distances themselves, it's natural to start building expectations. Maybe you think, they'll come back soon if I just give them some space. Or if I send the perfect message, everything will go back to normal. But here's the thing. Expectations can be tricky. When they're too high or unrealistic, they set you up for disappointment. Managing your expectations doesn't mean you're giving up hope. It means you're staying grounded in reality. Let's break this down together. Think about what you're expecting from this person. Are you hoping for an apology, a sudden realization on their part, or a quick resolution? Now ask yourself, is this expectation realistic? Often, our expectations are based on what we want to happen, not what's likely to happen. Here's a truth that might be hard to hear. You can't control how someone else feels or acts, but what you can control is how you respond. By managing your expectations, you're protecting your peace. Instead of holding on to a specific outcome, focus on staying open to whatever comes next. This isn't about lowering your standards, folks. It's about letting go of the things you can't control. One way to manage expectations is to set boundaries with yourself. For example, if you're constantly checking your phone, hoping for a message from them, set a limit. Decide that you'll only check your phone at certain times or turn off notifications altogether. This small act can save you from the stress of waiting and help you reclaim your time and energy. Another strategy is to reframe your mindset. Instead of thinking, I need them to respond for me to feel better, try this. Their response is out of my control, but I can still choose how I feel. This shift puts the focus back on you, where it belongs. It's a reminder that your happiness isn't dependent on their actions. It comes from within. Let's talk about patience, too. Sometimes we want instant answers, but relationships and emotions don't work on a tight schedule. By giving yourself permission to be patient, you're allowing things to unfold naturally. That doesn't mean waiting forever, folks. It means giving the situation enough time to reveal what's meant to be. Now, here's a quick exercise for you. Take a moment to think about one expectation you've been holding on to in this situation. Write it down and ask yourself, is this helping me or is it causing me stress? If it's the latter, let it go. Replace it with this affirmation. I release what I can't control. Drop those 3 words in the comments below, folks, and feel the weight lift off your shoulders. Before we move on, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if this is resonating with you. Join our community and stay inspired as we work through these challenges together. And stick around. Next, we'll talk about how to create a sense of safety that can transform any relationship. Let's keep going. Folks, you've got this. Number 7, create a sense of safety. You know what's often overlooked? Folks, the role of emotional safety in relationships. When someone distances themselves, it's easy to focus on what you're feeling, hurt, confusion, or even anger. But take a step back and think about this. What if their distance isn't about rejecting you, but about protecting themselves? Sometimes, people pull away because they're unsure, overwhelmed, or even afraid of getting hurt. And that's where creating a sense of safety can make all the difference. Let's break it down. Emotional safety is the feeling that it's okay to be vulnerable, to share thoughts and feelings without fear of judgment or conflict. When someone feels emotionally safe with you, they're more likely to open up instead of pulling away. So, how do you create that kind of space for them? First, it starts with how you listen. And I don't just mean nodding along or waiting for your turn to speak. I mean really listening. The kind of listening that makes them feel seen and heard. If they do choose to share what's on their mind, avoid interrupting or jumping to conclusions. Instead, respond with curiosity and understanding. Try saying something like, I hear you, and I appreciate you sharing that with me. These simple words show that you're creating a judgment-free zone. Next, check your tone. When you're upset or frustrated, it's easy for your voice to come across as sharp or defensive without meaning to. Pay attention to how you're saying things. Speak calmly and respectfully, even when emotions are running high. A calm tone communicates that you're someone they can trust, even when things feel uncertain. Another key part of creating safety, folks, is showing consistency. If you've ever dealt with someone who's hot and cold, one day they're all in, and the next they're distant, you know how unsettling that can be. Don't be that person. Be steady. Be reliable. When they see that your behavior doesn't waver, even when they're unsure, it builds trust. It shows that you're someone they can count on, no matter what. One thing to avoid here is pressure. It's natural to want answers or resolution when someone pulls away, but pushing them too hard can backfire. Instead of saying, "We need to talk right now," try something more open, like, "Whenever you're ready, I'd like to talk about what's going on." This lets them know you're available without making them feel trapped. And let's not forget about boundaries. Emotional safety isn't just about making them feel comfortable. It's about you, too. If their behavior is hurting you, it's okay to speak up. Creating safety works both ways, and that includes setting boundaries to protect your own well-being. So here's your challenge, folks. Think about one way you can make someone in your life feel safer with you. Maybe it's being a better listener, or maybe it's showing more consistency in your actions. Whatever it is, write it down and commit to it. Share these 3 words in the comments below. I build trust. Let's affirm that together. And if this is helping you navigate tough moments in your relationships, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. By joining our community, you're taking another step toward building stronger, healthier connections. Stick around. Next, we'll talk about being prepared to move forward, no matter the outcome. Let's keep going. Folks, you're doing great. Number 8, be prepared to move forward. Here's the truth. Folks, sometimes, no matter how much effort you put in or how well you handle things, people don't come back, and that's okay. It's not a reflection of your worth or what you bring to the table. It's simply part of life. Being prepared to move forward is about accepting this reality and choosing to focus on your own journey, regardless of their actions. Moving forward doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop holding on to what's out of your control. When you accept that you can't force someone to stay or change how they feel, you free yourself from the emotional weight of waiting for something that might never happen. This freedom is empowering. Folks, it's a reminder that your happiness doesn't depend on someone else. It starts with you. The first step in moving forward is giving yourself permission to let go. Letting go doesn't mean erasing memories or pretending they never mattered. It means releasing the grip of expectations and allowing yourself to heal. Think of it like holding on to a rope that's pulling you in the wrong direction. The tighter you hold on, the more it hurts. But when you let go, the pain starts to ease, and you can focus on finding your footing again. Next, take some time to reflect on what you've learned from this experience. Every relationship teaches us something about others, about ourselves, and about what we truly need. Maybe this person showed you areas where you want to grow or highlighted values that are important to you. Carry those lessons forward. They're the foundation for building healthier, more fulfilling connections in the future. And let's talk about self-compassion. Folks, moving forward doesn't happen overnight, and that's okay. Be kind to yourself during this process. Some days will feel easier than others, and that's just part of the journey. Celebrate the small wins, like going a day without overthinking or finding joy in something new. Progress, no matter how small, is still progress. Another part of moving forward is envisioning what's next for you. Take a moment to think about your goals, your passions, and the kind of life you want to create. This isn't about replacing them. It's about reconnecting with yourself and the possibilities that lie ahead. When you focus on your future, you're not just moving on, you're moving towards something greater. Finally, remember that moving forward doesn't mean closing the door forever. Sometimes, people find their way back into your life when the timing is right. But here's the key. You won't be waiting for them. You'll be living your life fully, on your terms. And if they return, it'll be because they see the strength and growth in you, not because you were waiting by the door. Take this with you. Folks, you are enough, with or without them. Let that be your mantra as you step into the next chapter of your life. You've got this. All right, folks, we've covered a lot today. When someone distances themselves, it's easy to feel powerless. But every step we've discussed is about reclaiming your strength and focusing on what you can control. This journey isn't just about them. It's about how you show up for yourself. Let me leave you with this thought. You are stronger than you realize, and your worth isn't tied to anyone else's actions. Carry that with you as you move forward. If this video resonated with you, hit that subscribe button and join our Stoic Relationships community. Don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who might need it. And drop a quick comment below with this affirmation: I choose strength. Thanks for watching, folks. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. You've got this.